Hello and welcome to Nothing Definitive. My name is Sam, and this is an entry for today, April 28th, 2014. In the last video I uploaded, I talked about negative injections and brought up being in the moment, and I realized I should probably explain what that really means, or at least one basic interpretation of it. There is an actual noticeable shift in my own perception when I meditate and enter into the moment or into the now. It's not so extreme that it's like shifting into some sort of superhero mode or something like that, but rather a subtle, delicate shift of a camera angle per se. For those of you familiar with marijuana, it can be similar, although less intense, than the shift from normal consciousness to the movie theater experience that some people get. Like falling backwards into yourself and becoming more aware that you're actually looking through a set of eyes. And from this viewpoint, the world seems just slightly different. It's more clear, more crisp, and more interesting. Maybe not at first, but with continued practice, it becomes more appealing and more rewarding. I experience less stress and less of that uncomfortable anxiety I get when thinking about the future and how uncertain my own life is. It helps me focus on what is happening right now and stay motivated to continue working on my projects, things I don't get paid for but love to do despite the extra work it involves. I also notice more of my actions and how fast and intense I do them sometimes. I think I am a somewhat high tension person, or at least used to be, and still maintain some of that high tension body language. I noticed I tend to quickly grab things when I'm in a hurry or brush my teeth with unnecessary intensity, as random as that is. I don't know why I do these things the way I do them, but now I notice and I take more calm control of them. It reduces clumsiness and spills and dropping things, and consequently eliminates all that little bit of extra stress we get from those actions. All the little things we just brush off as being human. The realization here is that you can actually take control of these things. And not just the mundane, but everything about perception. This is one part of the path towards enlightening your mind. Unfortunately, the effect doesn't last long and becomes more difficult to maintain when you are forced to shift your focus back to real life. I suppose true Zen masters can live this reality, but for average people with jobs and families and bills to pay, we can only do so much. But every little bit helps, especially when compounded over time. Even minimal regular practice can have a dramatic shift in your consciousness. And even better, once the shift has happened, it's essentially permanent, even if you stop mindfulness activities and meditation. I meditated a lot in 2012 and less in 2013, and then my practice diminished to almost nothing for a while, and yet I remained changed from it. Sure, I lost some of the edge of heightened awareness, but the epiphanies and perspective remained. And now, over the last month or two, I've restarted a regular practice again, and I can pick up where I left off. It's comforting and peaceful to experience a single stream of consciousness outside of the daily grind of actions, thoughts, and emotions that are all mixed together. It's like carefully preparing a salad instead of just throwing all the ingredients into a blender. For example, last night I was rushing about the kitchen, preparing food, thinking about various things, multitasking, and then suddenly I found myself washing kale in the sink. And I was just about to turn the water off when I realized I wasn't in the moment, that I was missing the experience of washing these leaves. I had never consciously paid attention to how kale feels in your fingers before. I had never really noticed how the water runs off the surface without sticking to it like lettuce. And it was at that moment, from one second to the next, that I simply entered into a calmer, more aware state of mind. I listened to the water boil. I paid close attention to what I was cooking. I took care in my preparation. I listened to the bubbling of water as I poured it into a glass, something I hadn't never really done, even though I've done it like a million times. This might all sound fruitless and silly, and I think it probably is if you're always doing this in modern society. I don't see how we can function as a collective if everyone was doing this all the time. Nothing would get done, or at least not very quickly. What I'm saying here is that you should do this some of the time. I paid close attention to my actions in the kitchen, which then allowed me to pay even closer attention to the lecture or talk I was watching on YouTube. It warmed me up for that experience, allowed me to absorb more information. Then afterwards, I just switched back to my normal mind and worked on things that didn't require such focus. Look at this more as a skill that you use for certain things like listening to people, gaining awareness of your surroundings, calming yourself down, reducing stress. Things that benefit from either more focus or less focus. And then when it's not useful, like at work or figuring out bills or dealing with a family issue, close out of the program and return to normal consciousness. It's all within your control. And just from personal experience, I can attest to the benefits of this thinking. Everything interesting and practically useful in my life has actually come from this branch of thinking. Mindfulness, enlightenment, rationality, calmness, philosophy, they all just fit so nicely together, and yes, are actually practical in day-to-day life, even if it might not seem like it at first. So give it a shot, and let me know what you think. You can leave it in the comments or something. Test it out for a day, for a week, as long as you can, and just see how it changes your life. So that's what I wanted to share today. You can check out the previous video that I mentioned at the beginning. It's the video right before this. I think it's, what did I call it? Positive thinking and negative injections or something like that. Otherwise, you can consider subscribing. All the subscriptions help a lot. Sharing, liking, disliking. If you disliked it, leave a comment. Let me know how I can improve, or just what you think, I guess. Otherwise, yeah, that should cover it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.